Can look like, Lord, make me Wi-Fi so I could damn disconnect. Okay. He's like, what on God's green earth is happening? Ooh, why do I have to be here? Gypsy Rose, ma'am, what in the seductive Dollar Tree lingerie audition is happening on this $39 bedspread from Walmart? Gypsy's in this lingerie on all fours, making eye contact like she's about to purr. And Ken, he just sitting there with the remote like, do I press play or do I call the cops? Homeboy looking like he was buffering in real life. He had trapped in the mattress ad energy. That man blinked like twice and said nothing. That ain't love, girl. That's shock. This entire setup looked like a hostage situation sponsored by Sheen. She's twirling her hair, doing that he giggle while he's giving strong, why am I here energy? Like bro about to throw on ESPN and pretend that none of this is happening. Gypsy, baby, this ain't TLC 90 Day Fiance. This is 90 seconds from getting dragged across the internet again. Could you imagine trying to seduce somebody and they look so uninterested? I would run. I would never talk to you again. Oh my gosh. The whole rose petal thing. Oh Lord, you know he's sitting there like, where's Steve? Cowboy, somebody help me.
So I actually spoke to the producers of this show, and they told me they did not expect for Gypsy Rose to go so viral and for her to do so well in terms of social and people wanting to watch her films. I think part of the reason why they didn't expect this is because of the nature of her crime and the reality of it. When they said that to me, it made me realize that I wasn't crazy. And the reality of the situation is that they weren't expecting people to really fall for this, but people have. And that kind of makes it where you kind of wonder about the world we live in and how we're raising our kids, how life is going, and who we are basically giving fame to. I feel the same way about Yolanda Saldivar. I feel like she should not get the fame that she's going to end up getting from this video. And when I say fame, whether it's good or bad. But here's the thing, the reality is she is going to get paid, whether it's her family getting paid directly for this or her. And the same thing with Gypsy. This, in reality, is just insanity. And if Gypsy had unalived her mom for self-defense, do I really think that we should be giving her fame for it? No, because I think it's sending the wrong message. You know, like I think overall across the board, we're sending the wrong message. And having that conversation with the producers really kind of made me feel as if we're doing things wrong. And it just shows how out of touch this world really is, which is insanity. Look, I'm not saying she's not human, and at the end of the day, you know, she doesn't have a regular life. Yeah, she does, but should we glorify it? Is really the question. And I think we're glorifying something in someone that we shouldn't. I think we should learn the lesson that she should have learned. And also, the reality of this entire situation is that we, as a society, we need to reevaluate ourselves. We need to reevaluate what we deem as celebrities or people that we are making famous because we can make anyone famous that we want to. And that's the power that each and every one of us have. And we can make them good famous or bad famous. Truthfully, I think that Gypsy should just be living her life and, you know, whatever happens, happens. Because I do think karma's going to come back around. Because one thing about karma is she is a V. And you know that. And when I tell you when karma comes around, she comes around swinging. And I think a lot of times people are not expecting that. And I will say this again. I am not wishing bad or good on her. I want her to get whatever her karma should be. I am not hoping karma passes her by. I'm just hoping whatever her karma is, she gets. And like I said, I know Luna comes back around and she's a beast. Now, as far as us turning all of these people that are coming out of prison into celebrities is insane. It just shows like how off things are. We really need to get things back on track because these kids in high school, junior high school, are all watching us, and they're young and impressionable, and they're seeing what's going on, and they're really questioning the society. And if we think that this is the best way for the future, we're really screwing them. Because, I mean, look at it. We're literally praising someone that wasn't in imminent danger, that unalived their mom, and we've made her into a millionaire. You don't think some kids are going to say to themselves, you know what, I want to be a millionaire. And if I have to sit it out just for 8 years to become one, I will. And instead of me going to go seek help, just to actually unalive her, or unalive my parent, or whoever, that might be a better option because I can come out and start a documentary and have a reality TV show, become famous, and make a lot of money. I can sacrifice that time. And that's the reality. People are going to start to feel that way. And I'm sure after this, we're going to see crime in the youth almost skyrocket. And that's the sad reality. What I also think is strange is Gypsy never really seemed like she wanted to be with her husband. Even on that video that they just aired yesterday, it seemed very odd. It seemed as if, he was there and she wanted to be nice, but she didn't really want to be with him. Now, of course, when she got the D, things could have been different just because, she hadn't had someone in so long and all that. She might be feeling different about things. But I think at the end of the day, when the dust all settles, she's not really into him. And you could kind of see that even just in the videos. Even social media, even the way he seems really insecure, which I think is also very scary because insecure people tend to do a lot of things to you when they feel threatened. And I think he kind of almost knows that he's not going to be around forever. And I don't know if it's just because of the issues that they've had since she's been out, or just because she had cheated on him while she was in prison. Or, I mean, what is really cheating, honestly, because she was in prison. And the reason why people love Gypsy Rose, is it because she's a victim? Is it because they identify with being a victim? Is it because they put themselves in her shoes, even though her situation is completely different from theirs? Those are all questions that we really have to ask ourselves as a society, because I think that's really what's going on is people are empathizing with her because of their own situations instead of seeing her as an individual and her situation as an individual and seeing their situation as an individual as well. I mean, that's the reality of the situation is I really think people are just projecting how they feel on her, and they kind of want to make her a superhero out of their own trauma instead of seeing their trauma as their trauma and her trauma as her trauma and her situation as her situation. I think part of one of the major things in this that we're missing, or just society on a whole right now, is the lack of accountability that we hold people for. And because we deem them as victims, we don't deem them as perpetrators no matter how much they perpetrate. And when you really think about that, that's extremely scary. We have to hold everybody accountable because everybody has their part. Whether or not they're right or wrong, everybody has a part, and we have to accept that. Sadly, I don't think the world, Gypsy, her family, or anyone around her is really holding her accountable for her part. And that's my fear for the society we're in today. And the lessons that we are teaching these kids, it's not really about Gypsy in and of itself, because she is one person. But she's one person that's being idolized by our youth. However, I just really want to urge you guys to be careful about who you idolize. Be careful about who you let your kids idolize. And be careful about what you are thinking is acceptable. Yes, things happen to people, and people are victims of situations. But we shouldn't idolize people for a crime, no matter why they did it. It shouldn't be idolized, because at the end of the day, it's still a crime. Unless it's self-defense, and direct self-defense, it's different. This was premeditated, and this was definitely a crime of passion. You can tell that by the amount of ab whoops that Diddy had. So I think we need to take that a little more serious and stop blowing that off just because we feel like, oh, she was young, she didn't know any better. Yeah, we shouldn't be calling her Queen Gypsy. We shouldn't be doing any of that. At the end of the day, if she's a victim, she's a victim, but she's also a perpetrator, and we really need to be honest with that. And I think a lot of people are acting as if Nick having autism on the level that he did on the spectrum, rather, it's not a big deal. It is. And you can be smart and have autism and not understand social cues and not understand how to operate. That's not the same. And I think people are getting that wrong. We need to be realistic about that, And I feel like people aren't being realistic about that. At the end of the day, Nick's voice should be heard, regardless whether you feel like it or not, because that's part of the American Constitution. Why is it just okay for us to only hear Gypsy's story? It's not. No matter what you think, everyone should have a fair trial. And that's why I say we shouldn't really dismiss this appeal, because we should want him to have a fair trial. Because if he doesn't have one, what if it's you one day and something happened and there's a complete misunderstanding and you never actually got a fair trial? Anyway, what do you guys think? Do you think we're distorted in how we're thinking? Do you think we're setting a bad example for the youth? Do you think society is viewing things all wrong? Do you think we're not being realists? Do you think we're possibly being delusional? I mean, these are all questions we need to ask ourselves. Not only just ourselves, the world. Hope you guys enjoyed your morning talk with me. I'm getting my hair done later, so you might not see so many videos of me today because I have to go to work, and then when I get off work, I'm getting my hair done. So you guys can tag me and stuff, and I'll respond, but I might not respond till later this evening, more like 9, 10 o'clock. But you never know, I might respond before then. So I'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye for now.
Stop scrolling. I'm going to break down why today's courtroom showdown might have changed everything, from the jurors getting tossed to a freak-off films, and Christmas creeps. This is the moment that actually mattered. Juror number 6 was officially dismissed. Now, he was a Black Bronx male that was removed for lying about relocating to New Jersey. This triggered an immediate defense mistrial threat, okay? So they're claiming it was a racial bias. Now, the prosecutors and Judge Arun confirmed that this removal had nothing to do with race. It had everything to do with being dishonest. Another juror is under investigation after receiving a weird text. Are you jury number 6? Suggesting possible outside influence, which is going to be a big issue. I think they're going to have to get rid of him. All of this means the juror is under extreme scrutiny, and at this point, I think they need to sequester them. And the defense could push for a mistrial or use the dismissed jurors on appeal. Listen, I don't know if using them will work because I think Judge Arun has handled this really well, but who knows? The jury heard where Diddy and Cassie were to celebrate Christmas, and he was asking Cassie to celebrate it with a freak-off involving a male escort. Now, the freak-off footage was played secretly. Y'all, 3 full-length, 11 to 12-minute corn star-style video films in New York City. They showed the jurors via headphones. The jurors' reactions, at least 2 Black females, they flinched and looked visibly uncomfortable. This footage wasn't public. It was tailored just for the jury only. Now, Judge Mathis tapped in, and he's saying that the juror that was dismissed, Diddy's team needs to use that for a future appeal if they want to challenge the verdict. Judge Mathis, what? The defense accused the prosecutor of undermining the jury's diversity and basically saying that there's racial issues, and that's why they removed juror number 6. Now, the jury is now smaller and shaken, and the defense will probably use that for a mistrial. But I think Diddy's team is solely trying to get a mistrial. They don't have a defense at this point. Now, the prosecution is winding down with the closing witnesses and statements and the logistics and the videos, and boom, they said by Wednesday, Friday, the latest, they should be done. So, y'all, the defense is gearing up. They're ready to argue the coercion is consensual. If Diddy loses and the defense flips the juror dismissal, the conviction could be overturned. But if the case holds, expect this trial to go down in forever tapes. Y'all, day 24 was for a legal earthquake. Jury tossed, freak-off tapes exposed, Christmas messages asking Cassie to freak off on Christmas. Y'all, this is where the case might crumble and show how unhinged it is. Stay tuned, stay seated, and stay ready because this one, I think, is far from over. And I'm going to be very honest with y'all. I have been fearful from the beginning that Diddy would try to outsmart the system. I don't know if you guys remember, like earlier or late last year, when there was a recording on media takeout from the court. I think Diddy strategically had someone go into court, record that, and try to say, oh, I can't get a fair trial. So once that happened, I already thought to myself, oh, you forgot that this man can outsmart the system. Because how is a juror getting a text message, are you juror number 6? Do you think Diddy's defense team doesn't have access to that juror's information? Do you not think that he had anything to do with that juror lying? It's just a coincidence this is the one case where all of this is happening. No, Diddy is trying to outsmart the system. He's done it over and over again. Like, he's tried to tamper with witnesses inside of prison. Inside of jail. So if he could do that, I don't know. I think the jury should have been sequestered. And I think it's very interesting that they never wanted the juror to be sequestered. I think that it's one thing for the judge not to request it, but the defense should have wanted that. Why wouldn't the defense want that? Because of stuff like this. Think about it. I think that they're playing games.
A big blow to Diddy's defense team today. Juror number 6, a 41-year-old black Hispanic man from the Bronx, is out, replaced by a 57-year-old white man from Westchester County, in a trial that Diddy's defense team told the court is an attempt to take down a successful black man. And Diddy's defense team fought hard to keep him, filing a 14-page letter calling the move discriminatory. In it, writing that during the jury selection process, the prosecution used 7 out of their 9 strikes on black jurors. But now we've learned that another juror is facing questions about conversations he may have had with a colleague about the trial. Now, that juror was questioned on Friday, and he turned his cell phone over to the judge. This, as the government called their first witness of the week, a special agent who testified about texts, hotel records, and flights booked by Diddy's team for hotel nights, freak-offs, or Wild King nights, further establishing how this alleged criminal enterprise operated. In one example, records showed an escort, Jules Theodore, flying out for a freak-off with Cassie, and another text from Diddy asking for 15 pills of Molly. The text also showed that Diddy's staff used to set up hotels with soup, Gatorade, baby oil, extra towels, and they would also text each other to give each other the heads up that he was having a Wild King night. One name that came up a lot was Christina Quorum, Diddy's chief of staff, who the prosecution is saying was his right-hand man and an unindicted co-conspirator. Last week, the prosecution says that they're expected to wrap up their case by Wednesday at the latest Friday, so it looks like Christina will not be testifying.
And the more I think about it, the more this shit baffles me, man. Stevie Wonder paying child support for some kids he ain't never seen before. Y'all ain't never thought about that?